Good morning, everybody. Jeff Sansone, Tigers basketball, here in the office doing another basketball interview. And I've got one of the most prolific basketball names in Fairfield County. He's like a Where's Waldo of basketball because you you run into people and they know Mike Evans. So I'm really happy to have Mike Evans here. And hey, Mike, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I have a lot of time for the Tigers. It's really an honor to be here. A lot of time for Coach Mack.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And by way of introduction, Mike was a former assistant at Harvard under Tommy Amaker. He was a head coach in New Canaan for a number of years, also a head coach at Worcester up in Danbury. He owns a shooting company called Right Angle Shooting, where he does shooting instruction for basketball players of all ages. And he's the founder and executive director of Full Court Peace. And that's really why I wanted to talk to Mike today. I was his vice president of his board for a couple of years. Now I'm a board member. So full disclosure, I'm a Full Court Peace guy as well. So I want to talk about Full Court Peace a little bit, Mike. What's new, what's going on, and what have you been up to?
Well, a lot's new. We've all had a really strange last 10 or 12 months, and that's really put Full Court Peace in a unique position. We had our best year yet in 2020, which I'm not sure many companies or individuals can really say. We had we use basketball as a means of bringing communities together, and those communities are communities that sort of historically have been separated for whatever reason. So in Fairfield County, we try to bring the city youth communities and suburban youth communities together through meaningful interaction on the basketball court. And what that looked like a lot last year was going into Bridgeport, Norwalk, Stamford, and Danbury and finding basketball courts that could use a little bit of love. And that was, bringing a group of kids from Bridgeport together with a group of kids from Ridgefield. Actually, Dennis Hickey facilitated that. And we were up at Curiel Middle School and one Saturday morning painting a basketball court and putting up new hoops. And we did that actually 14 times in 2020, all throughout those four cities. And we've got even more planned for 2021. I think people are eager to help each other out. I think it's a positive sign that we had such a good year. It means that people are really thinking differently now.
Yeah, and I think listen, I love the work that you do. I was at a court opening in Stamford that you guys had done, and we brought together. A young man had been killed. He had played some AAU ball, and some of our players from Ridgefield came down. Amos Gray had played on that team with him, and it was really, a nice way to bring the community together. And these basketball courts, are central, focal points in communities where kids can go and play safely and of all ages. Young kids can get out there, older kids. So I think it's great work that you're doing. I thought that there was a really cool thing that you did when the pandemic hit. You started to collect basketball hoops that were not being used by, suburban families that maybe like mine, my kids have grown up and they're not using them anymore. And you were hand delivering them to kids that needed them in some of the cities. How's that going?
It's so interesting. That was a pivot that we had to make because of COVID. We wanted to keep doing good and connecting kids. And now it's going to be a staple thing that we do because it was so successful. So you drive around Fairfield County in the suburbs and there's these portable basketball hoops that if you're a basketball guy, that hoop hasn't been used in like 2 years. And that family's kid maybe went to college or decided to play another sport. And it's not something you can just crumple up and throw in the trash. And you don't want to have to pay to have it, taken away. So we find people through networking and word of mouth, and sometimes by knocking on front doors, although you don't want to insult them about the condition of their hoop. Like yours, Coach. Yours is
mine's not worthy. Mine's not worthy to be donated. Sorry.
Right. So, we just go rent a U-Haul and drive around to four at a time and get a volunteer, a high school kid, and like Oscar Edelman from Greens Farms Academy would help me, and we just throw the hoops in the U-Haul and wipe them off, put a new net on them. And then we had it through our network in Norwalk and Danbury and Bridgeport in particular, we were able to put hoops in people's backyards so the kid could go out and play. And he wasn't playing because the park was closed or because the rims had been taken down in the neighboring basketball court by his house. And there we put a hoop in his backyard. And then we take a picture of the kid who got it, the kid with the hoop, and send it to the suburban family that donated it. So we were still in some way connecting people.
Yeah, I love those pictures, the big smiles. And, Mike would deliver the hoop, a couple of balls, maybe some sneakers if the kids needed them. Like, that's the kind of stuff that he's doing out there. And I don't think we realize that what you just said, like, they're taking hoops down in the cities so that to keep people from congregating because of COVID. And I think that really you listen, I've been a big proponent of getting kids back to playing basketball. We saw the Bridgeport team in town yesterday. We're filming this on Sunday. So Saturday, they came to town. And it's terrible that those kids have only had 4 practices because they couldn't get into a gym because of what's going on with the politics in the city. And it's tragic. And I'm just happy that they're playing games. Obviously, they have a lot of work to do to compete, but that's not what it's about right now for them. It's about just playing basketball and being together. And I think for our students in Ridgefield and all these cities, this has been a very tough time, and I can only imagine it's probably even harder for some kids that don't have the resources that our kids have. So congratulations for all the work that you're doing with these guys. So what's going on with Full Court Peace and, traveling? I know that, and so that for people that don't know, Mike does all this work, locally in Fairfield County, and he's expanding that out. And I want to talk about that too. But then there are some big service trips that he does. Mike's been all over the world, right? He's been to Northern Ireland. He's been to Juarez. He's been to Dominican Republic. He's been to Cuba, probably more times than Fidel himself. But but now he's more focused on some stuff within the United States. What's going on now, Mike?
Yeah, so we Full Court Peace has been fortunate to expand to as many as 4 other U.S. cities. And when I mean expand, we haven't gone out and made it happen. People reached out to us. People through either social media, the sharing of my posts, or common mutual friends I have, or even strangers through searches have reached out from Petaluma, California, Denver, Colorado, Miami, Florida, and Tampa, Florida, have all started Full Court Peace chapters in their local city where they see a similar setup that we all see here in Fairfield County, where we have neighbors that live right next door to each other who don't really have a chance to interact all that often. And basketball is that common denominator. But a whole other level, through a crazy connection through the Costigan family, another Ridgefield family, I met somebody down at Quantico doing a training thing with the United States Marine Corps with Colin Costigan, who was from Wyoming, who lived right next to a Native American reservation, who said to me, the Native Americans out in Wyoming love basketball. They have no functioning outdoor basketball courts. And there's not a great relationship across the neighboring community, the line where one community begins and another one ends, which is Riverton, Wyoming, which is a small town in Wyoming right next to a reservation. They don't really interact all that often. And so that night, much to the guy's surprise, when I was down in Virginia, I bought a plane ticket and went out to Wyoming later that summer. And I met the kindest people who, yes, love basketball. The Wyoming Indian High School, it's called, has won 12 boys state championships. And the girls have won 5, and they are dominant. But drove around the reservation, outdoor courts, hoops are slumped over, and they want a summer league. They want to be able to continue playing, but the facilities don't allow it. So this summer, we've got 4 trips planned out there to go out, COVID safe, and to go out and resurrect those basketball courts on the res.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to jump on one of those trips for sure. And I love the fact that it's right here in our own country too. There's need everywhere. And I think you've done a great job going to other places and helping people in need. And I'm really happy that it's happening here as well, that you're going to get that reach. And it's kind of interesting. It's like their own little, it's their own nation within our country. And the resources there are not what you might think they would be. And it's sad. And to hear that they've won 17 championships between the girls and the boys, state titles, and they can't run a summer league because they have no basketball courts to play on. So I love it. And I hope that, I know that I was going to bring my St. Mary's team, these guys in the photo behind, a bunch of them were going to come to Cuba last spring. We had a whole trip planned, and then Mr. COVID came, and that trip didn't happen. So we're hoping to maybe get some of those guys who are now big high school guys, hopefully they'll want to come still, but that could be cool, right? Getting out there and demand for these trips, these are great service trips. And I think the feedback that I get talking to people, it changes kids. Like it's an eye opener to some of our kids. And we've all, I'm a parent here in Ridgefield. We want to provide for our kids, but maybe they don't see the world as much as they need to. And these have been big eye openers for some of these kids, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that until you're on the reservation, you don't really understand the level of difficulty they have in their everyday life. I say that I'm fortunate to have seen a lot of tough situations. I say fortunate because it's given me a lot of perspective on my own life and what I grew up with in Weston, Connecticut. And when you go out to the reservation, I'll tell you this, some of the stuff that I've seen really rivals some of the stuff I've seen in Latin America, if that gives anybody out there perspective. So just being able to get a ball in a kid's hands, maybe a portable hoop in his driveway, or just a court he can walk to where he can play, makes a gigantic difference in the kid's life. Just from on an everyday basis, being able to have a destination where he can leave home and go and do something positive. And that's what these trips accomplish. And I think that the Fairfield County kid that goes out and sees that firsthand looks at it differently if he or she loves basketball. They see that, oh, well, I get to go out to my driveway. I get to go to Yanity. I get to go to Mimosa Court and shoot. But these natives don't have that chance, and these trips solve that problem for them immediately.
Yeah, and I think, I've been on some of these court repairs that you do, like in Danbury and the projects up there, and there's Ridgefield kids and Danbury kids, and they're literally kneeling side by side, working on the project, together. And I just love the message. We're all the same. I mean, the shirt you're wearing, right? One love, one people. Like, we're all the same. We're living in different neighborhoods. We're born into different circumstances, and I think people need to understand that it's a global community. And listen, basketball is the love of my life. It's everything to me. It's gotten me everything I have in this world, spiritually and everything else. I got my career from basketball. I've met my dearest friends from basketball, and obviously people that know me know that today I'm calling basketball games from my office because I love it so much. And I met you through basketball, right? So like these are the connections that we can make. It's a network for these kids that love basketball to do. Other people like swimming or tennis or whatever it is they like to do, but it's basketball for us. And that's the tool that you're using to get to people. I know you said before we got on the interview, you're shipping some computers. Are those going out to Wyoming?
Yeah, I went out there in August by myself, and there's a new superintendent, and she explained to me that they had shut down school, but they had to buy a hotspot for every one of the federally provided trailers that the natives live in, and because they didn't have Wi-Fi, if that gives people out there more perspective on the life they have. So she said, well, we've solved one problem. We have the Wi-Fi signals in the trailers, but the other problem is that a large majority, and 28,000 people live on the reservation. The large majority of the kids don't have tablets, iPads, and stuff like that on which they can do the learning. So the Wi-Fi is there, but not the device. So she was waiting for a shipment allegedly from Amazon or some big provider was going to provide this equipment, but it was so backed up because of the need. So I came home and just fired out a message to a couple kids who got it done. I mean, today will be 65 computers we've shipped out there, tablets, phones. People are giving up their old iPhones, cleaning them out, said, here you go, we're shipping it out. And they have someone out there who then can provide the kid, even if it's an iPhone, an old iPhone, the charger, and now they have a Wi-Fi signal, and now suddenly they can go to class because they have it in their hands. So we've had a lot of kids around the county contributing to that cause and going out and finding unused laptops, tablets, and phones that they can give to Full Court Peace that we can get out to the natives out there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, 28,000 people, roughly the size of Ridgefield from a population standpoint. And to put it into perspective, they don't have computers to go to school. They don't have balls to play basketball with. They don't have sneakers to wear outside. Like, this is the desperation that's out there in a community the size of our own. And listen, I'm in Ridgefield, here we are. This is where I'm comparing to. This is what I know. And it's hard to hear that's happening like right here. And I love that you're getting out there and doing it. So what does a trip look like when you go out there? What's a kid to expect when he signs up for Full Court Peace travel, destination Wyoming? What are you doing?
Yeah, so you got to get them there, which is tricky. You got to fly to Jackson, and you got to drive 2.5, 3 hours to the reservation. You stay in a town called Lander, which is much like Riverton, which I mentioned earlier, small tourist town of Wyoming with sort of well-known hotel chains. You get settled in, and then day one, the next day after the travel day, and the 3 days subsequent are all work days. So your morning is taken up with 4 hours of digging out the cracks on a basketball court, cutting the grass with hedge clippers outside the court so nothing grows onto it, cleaning the court, taping the court, getting it ready to be painted, and then painting it and making sure it's exactly right. Treat it like it's going to be your own court. You're providing a court for somebody else. And during this time, you're, COVID safe, you're working alongside the Native American kids who are going to use that court. So hopefully you're gaining perspective as you're working that this line's got to be really straight. Believe me, in my time, Jeff, I've brought about 700 people to the Caribbean over the past 10 years. We've had a lot of sidelines that look like the letter S. So the quick solution to that, by the way, is let girls do it because they do it the right way the first time. So every day is a day where you're putting your blood and sweat and tears into this court with people who are going to use it and making sure it's right. And then every kid's got to collect basketballs before we go out. Every kid's got to collect sneakers, and we're getting the sneakers to the right people, getting the basketball in kids' hands. And then, there's a big segment of the day after you're done doing the good work where you're learning about the culture on the reservation while working with the Native Americans. So we look to the local people to tell us what they want us to know. We're not going to go tour around. We're the visitors. We have the resources. We don't have the answers. We're there to learn and better ourselves, but also leave the place better than when we arrived. And so we attend ceremonies and sit down with elders, and they tell us stuff. We sit down with the varsity basketball coach, Craig Ferris, who's also was a member of a lot of state championship teams, a heck of a player. And then, of course, there's Wyoming, right? So at night, or maybe we mix in something the other days where whitewater rafting, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
But going out and seeing the scenes, it's beautiful country out there. So going on hikes, understanding the natural beauty of the place, and a quick Yellowstone visit before heading back out from Jackson at the end of the trip.
I think you're a teacher as well. I think the best lessons kids learn are the ones they don't know they're being taught. And while they're out there doing this work, it's just being absorbed and taken in. I think it's really cool.
Right.
Not a slouch yourself on the basketball court, although I never got to play with you. But you put up some big numbers back in the day, right? So you have some cred when you're teaching kids how to shoot. I think you taught my son how to shoot, and I actually I had the notepad out there writing stuff down. So how's that going? A lot of kids still looking for instruction these days? Yeah,
private instruction skyrocketed because group instruction disappeared with COVID. So, but the thing is, only one guy's got to throw the ball on a baseball field, towards the batter, and on a football field, only one guy's throwing it. But 5 guys, 12 guys have to shoot it in a basketball game. So I think, I've been very fortunate to be mentored by Dave Hopla, who was Kobe Bryant's private shooting coach for a long time, and Carmelo Anthony's and Ray Allen's, and the list goes on. And Dave's really showed me the way. And then I had a great high school coach, Carl Charles, who was before Coach Mack at Ridgefield. And, he made me the player I ever was. I mean, I think I still hold the record at Weston for fewest defensive slides actually completed in a game. If I said anything different, I'd have someone call me out in the comments section or whatever. Yeah. So, but I could shoot it, and I could get to the spot slowly, but I could get there. And then, been really fortunate, 2 years ago, picked up a guy on the Indiana Pacers who's a great guy, working with him on shooting, Jakar Sampson. I think, did they lose to the Knicks last night?
I didn't see. I'm sorry. I had called 3 games yesterday, and I passed out after.
Right. So, but yeah, I've been really fortunate. I've worked with a number of Ridgefield kids who are all very coachable kids. You don't make it in Coach Mack's program if you're not coachable. So, some of my favorite kids to work with.
When you get out there to Wyoming, are there going to be? Are you going to mix it up with a little basketball too? Like there's work, right? Travel, work, a little sightseeing. Is there some basketball that's going to happen out there? A little competition maybe, or some tournaments, or what are you thinking about?
I think in a non-COVID world, that's definitely a possibility. There's, immeasurable amounts of things happen between young people when they're playing together that we adults can't even plan for. So conversations, conflict resolution, working together, bonding, losing together, winning together. But the natives suffer from an 11% infection rate on that reservation. So they live in very close quarters. So, for our visitors this year, probably not a possibility. Maybe some shooting contests on opposite ends of the court. We'll do something. But, when we go to these places, we always want to play together and play against each other for a little bit of pride and then mix it up. I mean, it's a natural thing to want to show up and bring your team and try to beat the people whose court it is. But then we mix it up. So I think maybe a year from now, and we'll watch it carefully, where kids will play together. But year one, we're going to be really safe and just have them on opposite ends and working together through the service part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure parents are probably relieved to hear that, at least for now, until things normalize again. Yeah. So anything else going on in Mike Evans' world that we need to know about? I mean, you got the hoop behind you, so obviously you work on your game literally in your sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
My neighbors are ecstatic about the hoop I have in my apartment, as you can imagine, especially the people below me.
You have people below you?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
no,
But another thing is everyone knows I'm not working on my ball handling or my passing. So I mean, hopefully it's not hitting the floor too often.
Yeah, when you say five guys shoot, really not when you're on the court. It's really just one guy is shooting, right? I mean,
triple threat to me was shoot. I never understood these other two things. You
were really nice. You let the other guys rebound once in a while, which is cool.
I did. Every now and then there was a rebound. Yep, definitely. I really, I never would have gotten open if I didn't have great teammates and a great coach. So I got to be really careful with what I say out here.
Yeah, it's funny, the Carl Charles connection, right? For those that don't know, Carl Charles was the head coach before Coach McClellan, and he was the AD for a little bit in between there as well. So you played for him in Weston, and then he made his way over to Ridgefield, I guess, a number of years ago, right?
Yeah, that's a Hall of Fame coach right there. I mean, he was never out of private school, could never recruit, and won probably 500 games in his career at Weston in the 80s. He had how about this? 2 kids from Weston in the 80s. One went to Notre Dame, one went to Northwestern to play, and they were both seniors together on the same team. Imagine that.
Wow.
And then he went to Massac. This is the most painful part. He was still the athletic director at Weston, and he was the head coach at Massac. And they won like 8 of 10 league titles when he was there in the SWC, including he would coach a game at Weston against as the Massac coach against the Weston kids, and then have to come back into work the next day as the AD at Weston. I don't know how he did it.
Today. They wouldn't do that today, right? That's
no, it wouldn't happen today. No. And lucky for me, he came back to Weston again when I was in 7th grade and changed the course of Weston basketball immediately. And then his swan song was at Ridgefield. And Coach Max is an amazing coach, someone that I've learned a lot from. I say his name once a clinic because he's got a great quote. If you can't do it in 3 dribbles, you shouldn't be trying it. And I always give him credit when I say that. And, the other town kids roll their eyes because I'm talking about Ridgefield. And I say, well, you guys aren't winning like they are. But Carl Charles set the tone of the basketball culture in Ridgefield, which really helped, I think, build excitement. And then Mac just took it to another level.
Yeah, listen, I'm very close friends with Coach McClellan, and I'm involved with the program. And the closer I get to it, the more impressed I get with how hard those guys work. I'm floored, and the community that care about basketball. And I talk to my friends, like, I care because it's basketball, and I know 90% of the world doesn't care, but the ones that do should really give him a handshake or a pat on the back, because he has, if you have a kid that wants to play ball and wants to put the time in and do it, they're going to get rewarded with great coaching. The coaching staff, I've had Wolf and Romeo and Volts on, just the greatest guys and such great basketball guys. And Coach, Andrew's just, he's the best. I mean, there's not enough. I'll be gushing about him for another 20 minutes and they'll have to take us down from it. So what do you like? You're a basketball guy and I am biased, right? So what do you think in the FCAC this year? It's a weird season. We're halfway done in 2 weeks. And by March, 13th, it's going to be the playoffs. It's going to be over in a blink. Do you have a feel? What do you like?
I probably don't watch it enough to be credible here, but I've got to give, shout outs to the kids that I've known for what's going on 8 years now. So I coached the 4th grade New Canaan team when the seniors now, when they were 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And we had a really big rivalry against the Wilton 4th, 5th, and 6th grade team, and they're seniors now. I watched the Wilton senior night last night, was immensely proud to watch Owen Lillis drain the game-tying 3. Owen's a kid I've known a long time, great family, and he works so hard and deserves it. And Alex Kokoros had a great game, and he's a great lights-out shooter. He used to kill our travel teams with his lefty corner 3. But the kid I'm very close with, probably the closest with, I mean, Justin DeFabio and I have known each other a very long time. And that's been a great story, great success story. But Leo Magnus at New Canaan is, a 6'5", 6'6" shooting guard somehow. I don't know how that happened. Going to play at Colorado College, tough kid to stop. So I got so much time for Coach Mack, for the Wilton boys and the New Canaan boys. I hope somewhere in the line, those three are in the mix at the end. And, may the best team win.
Wow, what a politically correct answer, but that's cool, man. Like that must feel really good though to see. And I get that as a coach myself, to see the little guys that I, put a ball in their hand and like taught them and watch them grow, and then to see them come up and just grow up and mature. And even when they get, they're never fully done. Like they're always moving up, and those are the great ones that just keep going and keep going and keep going. It's got to be really cool for you to see that. So I appreciate that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey man, it's really good to always catch up with you. I'm one of your biggest fans, and I support you in any way I can. And hopefully this getting this out there, we'll have this interview up probably before the Greenwich game. I think I'll put it up. And then the phone will be ringing off the hook for interview requests.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I listened, I won't use any names or town names, but I've been listening to other games, and I hope people in Richfield understand how good they have it with you, because you're not just better than the others. Someone wrote a comment on Facebook about how you missed your calling. I really think you did. It's not too late. You still have the great look for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have a face for radio. Is that what you're saying, Mike?
I'm telling you the opposite, but it's a pleasure to be on such a well-organized thing, because you've really provided people whose grandsons are playing. Like someone wrote that, right? Someone's watching it from another state, and they're getting a really good play-by-play, and also the in-depth sort of social, emotional side of each player, because you're in the program. I mean, there's no one better to do it than you.
Thank you. And that's Cindy from Utah. That's Evan Kerner's grandma, who checks in every game. We've reached Maine. Romeo's grandfather's in Maine. Coach Wolf's dad is in Florida. That kid's grandma's out in Utah. And then we had some people in South America check in for JP Bashara. We've had some Denmark folks check in to listen. So we've gone global. It's awesome. And I'm just happy to be able to do this for the families. Like they weren't allowed in the gym when we started to do this. And now at least the parents can be in the gym. But the students, they deserve the recognition and to be made a big deal out of, because they are to me and to everyone around here that cares about basketball. So that's why we're doing it. So
totally
Mike, I'll let you go. I appreciate the time. And Full Court Peace, fullcourtpeace.org. Check out the website. You can donate there. If you look around your house and you have balls, sneakers, a hoop, you want to figure out how to help people in this time. This is a great way to do it. It's easy and it feels really good to help. And if you have kids of the high school age or whatever that need something to be involved with in a cause, look up Mike and he'll put them to work for sure.
Let's do it. Yep.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. I'll see you.